Alright everyone, welcome back to Analogue, a hate story. I had some other thoughts, but I just kind of want to get into this, just to see how it ends. Dear Diary, attending to my husband has been easier than I was afraid it would be. Yes, there's days when it requires more strength than usual to keep going. I'm still getting increasingly more sick, nothing will change that, but it's not so bad really. All I have to do is dote on him and try to anticipate his desires, and he's happy with me. No abuse or anything. Whoop-de-fucking-do! What an achievement! If only it was that easy to go through life without getting beat for no reason. I guess you shouldn't have been born a woman in ancient Korea or whatever the fuck. Sure, it's not as if I like him. He's an ugly 40-year-old man who cares only about politics and never tells me anything. Love. Well, that's certainly no concern. I don't know where I ever got the impression that was something that could happen in a marriage. I thought it was something from the past, but, well, I was young before I got put in stasis. It must have been a mistake of childhood. But so long as I do as I'm told, I'm not mistreated, like I was by my sister. And sleeping with him feels good. I really hope I don't get pregnant soon. I don't want that to stop. Doing that is really the only thing that makes me actually happy these days. Well, that and Jaehwa's talks with me. She's nice. She keeps me company when I stay up to wait for his return. She fetches servants to take me to bed on those days I'm too feverish to sit for too long, and she just talks to me, as if I'm a friend. I don't really understand why, but I guess she really doesn't hate me after all. Do let me tell you, she said one evening while she brushed my hair. I always wanted a little sister growing up. That's how I think of you. Does that make sense? I shrugged. It was nice of her, and it felt so relaxing to let her touch my hair like that. She wasn't waiting for a response anyway. By now, she knows better. She just keeps talking kindly to me. Ryu Jaehwa. The more she lives in my house, the more I'm confused by the mystery that is the pale bride. No wonder why my husband has been favoring the Kim family lately. Their daughter seems to be the perfect woman. She's not simply a pale beauty. She's always too shy to speak at all, let alone argue. Seems to hang off his every word, and, it turns out, is actually so completely humble in her education that she cannot even read. Or rather, she cannot read normal characters. I have observed her writing to herself, in perhaps what may be a diary. When I asked what it was, she wouldn't say, but was quick to hide it. I could not recognize a single character on her screen, however. They seemed simplified compared to regular writing. Perhaps she is inventing a writing system just for herself? It is very strange. Did you ever receive those letters I sent to your house before you arrived? I asked her. Curious. Seemingly she had. Did you read them? Her response was worried, as if she was scared that I would be angry to find out she hadn't. I was not, of course. I'm sorry, I had assumed. Are you able to read? That was when I found out she wasn't. I offered to read them to her, to which she seemed quite enthusiastic. I think I am likely to leave out some parts, however. I had enough difficulty in bringing myself to writing the more embarrassing parts of the family history. Bringing myself to talk about them, even though I know she would never say anything, is just far too much. Like all things with her, I could not tell whether her enthusiasm is sincere or an effort to make me happy. This troubles me. Of course I wasn't illiterate. I could read just fine, just not their stupid Chinese-based characters. I mean, I can understand them now. Everything except for my diary entries is translated from them. It's such a dumb way of writing though. It makes everything come out so stilted compared to proper Korean. Well, anyway, you're showing me that because you're interested in our admonitions, right? Yeah, I guess. And here, I'll just give you the letter she sent. They give all the details, even the one she was too embarrassed to tell me about at the time. Oh ho, wonder what they are. You can probably guess which part she cut out. It's pretty obvious. It's the incest thing she never told me about at the time. Excuse me, spoilers, girl. Having read about it now, I don't really blame her. And well, here, you can see what I mean for yourself. Okay, I believe seeing for myself is what I will do. To the woman who will marry my husband. As you are doubtlessly aware, it is traditional for a nobleman's mother to write poetic admonitions to be sent to the bride-to-be before she enters the family, explaining the circumstances and offering advice to her. Sadly, your mother-in-law has long since departed, leaving the responsibility in my hands. I never had any such letters sent to me, for reasons which I'll explain soon enough, and I have furthermore studied verse only enough to know that I am unable to write it well. I hope you do not think less of me, young pale bride, for addressing these letters in plain speech instead. Rather, pay attention to my words over my form, and please do not be hasty in erasing these letters after reading, for your own sake. I hope you find the advice and knowledge I will impart on you useful. I never read her letters at the time. I couldn't. I know she read them to me eventually, but I was just numb to that sort of talk at that point. Now they're just hard for me to read. Why is that? Because they remind you of your friend? Or your past? To the woman who will marry my husband. As you are no doubt aware, the Ryu family has an extremely long and proud history. Every man to hold the title captain and emperor has always been of our house, and you are here to make sure that continues for another generation. The name goes all the way back to the ancient times. Mythology speaks of a Captain Ryu who had control of even the ship's movement through the stars themselves. Such things remain far removed from everyday life, but it is important to understand the significance of the house and of the title that your first son will eventually come to inherit. To the woman who will marry my husband. It is an obvious matter that I do have the same family name as my husband. The official story, if you have not already heard it, is that we are cousins, making our marriage improper and less than ideal, but somewhat acceptable given the circumstances. At the time, there were no noble daughters who had not already been promised or given away in marriage, and obviously, a girl of any lesser upbringing could not possibly be suitable as a queen. Hence, cousins would simply have to do. Strictly speaking, this is all true. The part about there not being any noble daughters available is not a misrepresentation. And as far as any official genealogy is concerned, the emperor is the son of my father's brother. The part which you may not speak of openly is that he is the old emperor's son only by adoption. As far as blood goes, my husband is also my brother. As children, we never lived together, and it would, of course, have been strictly improper to have spent any time together at that age. I would never say anything such as that my husband actually arranged for there to be no noble daughters to marry, out of his desire to marry me. I would never say anything such as that my husband actually arranged for there to be no noble daughters to marry, out of his desire to marry me. That would, of course, be a rather bold move to accuse an emperor of such. But you may wish to consider what the implications might be if such a thing truly did happen. I leave it to you to decide whether or not such a thing is plausible. All I will say is that, despite our marriage being one of necessity, my husband has always been very fond of me. Interesting and gross. To the woman who will marry my husband. As for responsibilities, your burden will be quite light. You will, of course, be expected to be the model of feminine virtue, but truthfully I do not expect you will have very much trouble with this. So long as you keep your head down, avoid scandal, and keep quiet, that will more than suffice. As far as the day-to-day is concerned, you have nothing to concern yourself with, as this is the royal family you are marrying into. As queen, I run the management of the house's affairs and will not require any assistance from you in that regard. As part of the royal concubine's demonstration of modesty, you will have to share my own personal servant and will not have one of your own. While you will not have to be responsible for our housework, be modest and do not remain idle at her expense. You are expected to be as unseen as the servants, and to be voiceful only in the most moderation. Do not speak harshly to your servant, and be appreciative of what she does, and not incompassionate. Your one sole responsibility will be spending as much time with the emperor as it takes to produce a son. After you give birth, you will not need worry about raising him. I will be there to make sure that all is arranged for. Simply make our husband happy, keep out of sight, and give him a son, and you will have no more to worry yourself with. Girl, that is straight fucked up. To the woman who will marry my husband. The virtues which you are expected to demonstrate are simply those expected of any woman, and given your noble upbringing, I will not condescend to treat you as if you do not already know them quite well. You are expected to be quiet and obedient, to me as well as obviously to our husband. Perchance you are scolded. Sorry. Trust my judgment as your elder. I will never act out of anger or spite. If scolded by your husband, always respond with a smile, for your relationship with him must always be warm, and he is a wise man. I do not, however, anticipate such things will be problems. He told me of the interview in which he spoke to you, and had nothing to report at all on your manner of speech, so I trust it was entirely proper and polite. In light of that, I will say nothing further of the matter. As far as ritual obligations go, you have none, save for following in my lead. Both your mother and father-in-law are long dead, so you have no further obligations to them. I had trouble adjusting at first, but I anticipate nothing you could be surprised by. To the woman who will marry my husband. I will not tell you to avoid court politics entirely, so long as you do not cause trouble, but I will suggest you simply watch from a distance. The temptation may exist to meddle, especially if you ever talk to the artificial girl, Mute, who lives inside our computer. She is a gossip and a friend of the Smith noble family, and is responsible for revealing much of what they try to keep hidden. She may seem fickle, but she does belong to the house of Ryu first and foremost, and is quite loyal. Nevertheless, meddling is not in your best interests. Do not play politics, not only for our sake, or for the sake of being a virtuous wife, for the sake of your own family as well. They will receive favor not through any scheming on your part, but through our husband's will. Entertain yourself with gossip if you wish, so long as you keep quiet about it, but stay out of politics. In the end, you will manage to go much further if you rely only on rewards for being a good wife. Blah. Wait, there's one more question. I think it was this one? No. Yeah, why couldn't you just settle for a happy marriage? It's not like I ever thought, as a child, I would never marry. You tell me though, did you marry someone you only ever talked to once? No, I don't think so. Well, then maybe you shouldn't be judging me for it. I'm not judging, I'm just saying. It's not like it's my fault. We've both read the same logs. I wasn't the only person on the ship to be crushed by a horrible marriage. The two older Kim sisters. You should read their letters. Here, I'll show you. They had it just as bad. It's a really unfair question to ask. It's bad. It's bad. Sorry. I shouldn't even try to attempt to broach Michael Jackson. Letter to Sunhee. Dear Sunhee, I wish we'd had more of a chance to talk before I left. I'm sorry it was so sudden. Not my choice, please believe me. It's really weird living in someone else's house. Even just like the place itself, you know? The walls of the house are way smaller. There aren't even separate women's quarters. It's pretty much just a paper divider separating us from the men most of the time. You can see and hear everything. It's so very weird. Also, there's a lot more to do around the house. If you thought Mom was strict, wow, Mother-in-law makes her seem positively gentle in comparison. I know, I'll just have to get used to it, but she kinda scares me. Plus we don't have any servants here at all, so I have to handle pretty much all the chores. I'll try to write to you regularly though, so long as I can find the time. Mother-in-law keeps me pretty busy during the day with housework, and my husband keeps me pretty busy during the night with other work. It's pretty much chores all day every day, but I'll try to sneak in another letter soon, alright? With love, from your older sister, you and me. So far, sounds good, right? Things fell apart between them with time, though. Here, see it for yourself. Oh, damn. Dear and me. I wish you could have found the time sooner, but if you say you're busy, fine, I believe you. Things aren't very interesting at home. Mom's been really busy lately. I think she's in a big hurry to get me married. I wish he wasn't. How come you didn't have to do interviews until you were 14? Lucky, that is fucking sick. Ugh. One of them seems nice though. I think the man's name was O. I talked to his mother about you for a little bit. Don't remember what brought it up, but I told her about the dolls you left me. The second interview we did, she brought me one of hers from when she was my age, and said I could keep it. Interviews suck, but I think I'd be fine with marrying her son. I mean, if I really have to. She sounds better than your stupid mother-in-law. Love, Sun-hee. Dear Yunmi, thanks for being able to come to my wedding, even if it was just for a day. Don't worry about what Mom said about you not having kids yet. You shouldn't take that personally. I was really happy to see you again, since I wasn't sure if I ever would. I love you, big sister. Doll. I'm sorry for bothering you with this so soon after we spoke, but I really need you to answer something for me. I don't have anyone else to ask, and I'm really worried about something. It's really embarrassing, but I just have to know. The night I moved in, my husband and I slept together. I'm not ignorant about how that's supposed to work. I know why. Afterwards, my husband said everything was fine and that I shouldn't worry, but it really hurt, a lot. I was crying the whole time, and he injured me so much. There was blood everywhere. I know I'm not supposed to question him, but that's not normal, right? Should I insist on seeing a doctor? He seems nice besides that, so I just don't understand. What should I do, big sister? Dear Sun-hee, No, you don't need to see a doctor. I'm sorry to be the bringer of bad news, little sister, but I'm afraid your husband's right. That really is normal. Don't worry about freaking out either. You're a lot younger than I was when I got married, so it's probably even worse for you. I'm so sorry. It gets a little easier after the first time. It's still uncomfortable though, you just have to endure it. That never changes, I'm sorry. Don't worry about the crying either. I actually find that to be attractive. Fuck no. So just keep doing it and you'll probably make him happy. If you're lucky though, you'll get pregnant quickly and won't have to worry about any of that for months. That aside though, how have you been? How's your new family? I haven't heard much about them. I kept trying to ask Mom to tell me about your husband, but all I got was that lecture about how I was nearly 3 years old when she'd been married for as long as I had. As if I'm not trying. So do tell me more about him and his family, please, Sun-hee. I'd love to know. With love from your older sister, Yunmi. Wow, that was really stilted reading. Deal with it. Yeah, you should finish the rest first. You can see for yourself how things turned out. Then why did you have that thing? You know, don't ask me to see things, whatever. Dear Sun-hee, I said in my last letter that I was pregnant, and thanks for the congratulations, but I hope you didn't rush to tell Mom. You'll have to send her the bad news. It was a false alarm, I'm afraid. I bled this month. Hope you're doing better, little sister. Your child is due any day, right? Love, Yunmi. Dear Yunmi, I wish I could have written you sooner, but I'm afraid I haven't had the time. What with having a real pregnancy and all to worry about. Oh shit! Just rub it in. My mother-in-law insisted that I take the time to write to my family though, so I just finished a letter to Mom first. Sorry about your false alarm. I did tell Mom, and she wasn't very happy to hear it. I'm sure you're not really surprised by that though. The good news, I gave birth 2 weeks ago. Her name is Jean, and she's the cutest little child you'll ever see. She reminds me a lot of our little brother, although she has her father's eyes, really. I really wish you could meet her. I just know you'd think she's absolutely adorable. So I'm a mother now. I still can't think of myself that way. It's so weird. Right now, she's just so small. She can't even lift her head, but every time I look at her eyes, I wonder how I'm going to be able to raise her. Mother-in-law says I shouldn't worry. It'll come naturally, and she'll be there to help. I guess that's true. I definitely don't know what I'd do without her. At the very least, I sure would never get any sleep. It's just scary, you know? Wasn't it just yesterday that we were playing together in our father's house? Now it's been nearly 16 years since I was born. I'm a wife and a mother. How did we get so old? I mean, it could be worse. I know that's a good age for both of those things, and that it's really disappointing if you're older and haven't managed that. I have it good. It's just odd to think about it. But I'm not complaining, and oh, when you're a mother, you'll understand why, big sister. I just love her so much. She means everything to me. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. I think Jean is crying to be fed now, and mother-in-law can't help with that, so I'll leave it there. Take care, sister. I think I know why it went salty. Dear Sunhee, well, maybe you could use a little more caution in what you send to Mom, because it's not like you don't know how annoyed she can get, especially at me. There's a reason you're the only one she still actually talks to. I'm trying, you know, but I can only do so much. Congratulations on your daughter. I'm really excited to hear about that. Yeah, it's a shame that I can't see her. She sounds wonderful. I don't really have much else to say. I just wanted to acknowledge your letter. Things haven't really been worth talking about. My mother-in-law is still a crazy tyrant, and my husband and I are still trying to have a son. Nothing new, nothing worth mentioning. I'm glad things are going much better for you. With regards, Yunmi. Dear Yunmi, how long has it been since we last wrote to each other? It feels like it's been forever. I wish you wouldn't be such a stranger. I have a 2-year-old son now. His name is Taehyun, and he takes after his father in a lot of ways. He just started to learn to talk now, much earlier than Jean did, no surprise. But Jean is a real sweetheart. She's what reminded me of you. The two of them had fought, so I was scolding her. I told her that I was disappointed, that I expected better from her as an older sister. I gave her the whole filial responsibility speech, you know, the one that Mom always used to give. It's funny, I hated that so much as a kid. I promised myself I'd never get my own children that way. Now I just think to myself, well, it worked, didn't it? Anyway, she asked me what it meant to be an older sister. I had trouble with that one. Finally, I said, it means you should be a good role model. Teach your own little brother what it means to be responsible by example. Show him. That was a good enough answer for her, but I thought about it. And it's not a good enough answer for me. Not at all. It's you that I've been thinking of, and, you know, I turned out okay. I wish I could take back what I said and tell Jean what I'm going to tell you. You don't have to be perfect. You're not a good role model, but that's fine. I love you, big sister, and I always will. What a shit! Even if everyone is disappointed in you, even if you're not really family anymore, as far as I'm concerned, you're still my big sister. You don't have to be perfect. I love you, period. Please write back, sister. Even if you don't have good news to report, I just want to hear how you are. Love, Sunhee. Harsh. There's one more that Yunmi never sent. Going to warn you now, though. It's really intense. Are you sure you want to read it? It came this far. Very well, there you are. It's been added. Don't say I didn't warn you, though. Yes. Alright. 6 pages. Well, I guess this is gonna finish it off. Dear Sunhee, you know what? Fine, I'll tell you the truth. The false alarm? It wasn't a false alarm. I didn't lie about the bleeding. That was true. But I really was pregnant at the time, more than I let on in my letter. As in, morning sickness, giant belly. You could see it. I was really pregnant, and bleeding. My husband brought in the doctor immediately, who asked me all sorts of questions about everything. I was fine, perfect health, no injuries. I told him. So he pulled out his instruments and started listening for my son's heartbeat, and listened, and listened, and listened. It felt like forever that he kept trying, and I couldn't understand why he couldn't find something I knew just had to be there. The obvious never occurred to me. He had to explain it. I'm sorry, the doctor said. There's no heartbeat. The fetus is dead. He couldn't do anything about it. It took a week for the actual miscarriage to happen. It was the worst week of my life. It was hellish. You've had 2 children. I'm sure you know that wonderful feeling you get when you realize you're with a child. That you know that you're going to have a baby and can feel him inside you and imagine what he's going to look like and what he'll grow up to be, and that right now he's depending on you more than he ever will to keep him safe. You know the feeling, I'm sure. Just the day before, I had been so happy. I was going to finally have a child. After I found out, I could still feel him. Dead, but still inside me, sloshing around. The day before, I thought I was filled with beautiful life, but I was actually filled with death. I would have no son. What I was carrying was just a corpse weighing me down. I thought I'd feel better once I expelled it, but then I saw it. This awful, bloody mess that should have been a son. It was awful. So awful. After I saw it, my husband had to force me to wash myself, because all I wanted to do was crawl into my bed and die. I didn't get out of bed for a whole month after that, save for a brief hour so I could write to you and tell you that I wasn't pregnant. Eventually, I recovered. I realized it wasn't really my fault. Eventually, we started trying again. After all, what you, Mom, and mother-in-law have all been implying is right. I'd be a lousy wife if, after 8 years of marriage, I still hadn't had a child. So we tried, and I did eventually get pregnant. Then it happened again. That was half a year ago. You're right, I'm not perfect. I'm as broken as it gets. The one most important thing in the world for a woman to do, and I can't. You've been pregnant twice, and you know to have 2 wonderful children that you love. I've been pregnant twice, and all that's happened is I've killed them both. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why. The doctor says I didn't do anything wrong, but clearly I can't bring life into this world. The only thing I can bring is death, little sister. Today, I overheard my husband talking to my mother-in-law about considering taking on a second wife to actually give him a child. He sounded really disappointed in me. I don't know what to do. Kill myself, maybe, since killing seems to be all I can do. It'd be better for everyone. It'd be easier on my husband, and you wouldn't have to worry about me being a disappointment, at least. It's the only thing I can think of. What else can I possibly do? Oof. Shit. I don't know about you, but I had a really hard time reading that the first time. Can you imagine that? It's even as if I knew her. I didn't even know either existed when I was alive. I mean, sure, their mother mentioned that she had daughters before, in a sort of abstract way, but she never told me so much as their names, let alone, well, anything. Anyway, none of that was my original point. My point was, now do you see what I mean? When Mute talks about a happy marriage, that's what she's talking about. It's not as if I'm the only woman to have a horrible marriage. It wasn't my fault. That's what happens. That's normal. It shouldn't be. That damn well shouldn't be. Anyway, I guess we'll pick up with Muteness and then see what else happens tomorrow. These seem to be getting longer and longer. Anyway, catch you guys next time. Bye.